Welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to live, laugh, and learn to love all of life's little messes. While I am a licensed clinician, please keep in mind that this show is not a substitute for your own relationship with a mental health provider. Let's go. Hey, y'all, and welcome to episode 43 of Unicorns Talk Podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, and I am so excited to be here with y'all. Of course, I'm always excited to be here with y'all. I don't know if y'all could tell or not, but for the last couple weeks, I have been having a little bit of issue, we'll say, a little bit of issue with my sound, but I feel like I got that situation worked out. So y'all let me know for sure. How is it sounding to you? Let me know what you think. In the move and everything like that. It was so crazy because my space that I was used to recording in, I just didn't have access to that space anymore. And so it takes some time to get used to recording in a new space and new things that you have to deal with and contend with. And so my hope is that this week I've finally gotten my sound issues situated. I feel much better about the situation. So y'all let me know what you think. This week has been it's been a good week. It's been definitely a week of growth for me. Last week I kind of shared with you all that on my own personal journey, I'm dealing with some things and going through some things. And I know it was a little cryptic last week, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in and for allowing me to have that moment because I definitely needed to have that moment. And it honestly was not necessarily an expected moment, but one of my friends texted me and he was like, "Girl, what you talking about?" So I appreciate y'all for allowing me the space that I needed to kind of get that off my chest and work through that. And I am in a much better place these days. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling a lot more confident, and I am going to share in a lot more detail. I know it was a little cryptic, but I am going to share in a lot more detail with you all about what it is that, like, what this next phase of my journey actually is looking like. But as I work through it, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still feeling my way through it. And so, as I grow, then I'm going to teach you the lessons that I'm learning. And that's just kind of how this thing works. But I'm definitely moving toward, I think, moving toward my next phase of life, and like really just taking it to the next level. And I'm excited about that. So today's topic for episode 43 is wives submit to your husbands. So all this week long, we've been talking about submit inside my Facebook group, Trust Village. Monday, the topic for Monday was submit to your vision, and we talked about what it means to submit to your vision. How do you submit to your vision? If you are a member of Trust Village, you can always go back and watch the replay. And if you're not a member of Trust Village, what the hell you waiting on, girl? Make it happen. And then yesterday for Trust Village, we talked about be careful who you submit to. And I'm actually going to touch on a few of those things today as well. But today I wanted to specifically talk about submitting in a relationship because I feel like it has gotten a really bad rap. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But I just want to say that our topic for today, it's wives submit to your husbands, but it's not only for people in married relationships, okay? You don't have to be in a marriage to submit to your spouse. And I'm going to, again, talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes, but I just wanted to put that out there right here up front in the beginning because I don't want, like, if you're listening and you're like, oh, well, she's talking about, husbands and wives and stuff like that. Like, I don't want you to be turned off because just like everything else that I discuss here on the show, anybody can benefit from getting this information. Okay, so I want to make sure that you hang in there and you get the information that you need. Okay. All right. So, just a reminder if you haven't already, please make sure that you rate, comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you're listening right now. I absolutely love it when y'all let me know that you're listening. And, it makes me feel really good. I know that last week on my social media, I was definitely not there, not present really at all. But, like I said, I was going through some things. And I am looking for a social media intern right now, somebody to help me out with that situation or whatever. So if you know of anybody that has a communications background, that is very equipped to manage social media, send them my way if they're looking for some experience. Everybody needs some experience in their life, so send them my way. Please and thank you. All right. Okay, so let's move into today's topic. So, like always, I always do some research in preparation for the show. So, I was doing some research in preparation for today's show, and I always like to make sure that I'm providing you all with a well rounded view of whatever our topic is for that week. So, this week's topic is Wives Submit to Your Husbands, which is, of course, about submission. So, I did some hashtag research on Instagram, and it was very informative to say the least. I learned a lot about submission, and that submission actually is a term that frequents many inner circles. I learned that submission is a term that is used in everything from karate to BDSM. And so that was a very interesting deep dive that I took there on Instagram. But my Google search, however, it really showed that this is a hot button topic in the religious community. And so the interpretations of submission and the concept of submitting, it really varied within the religious community. Well, it really didn't vary so much. The interpretations kind of range from the woman's, rightful place is barefoot and pregnant to, a good wife stands by her husband no matter what. So there wasn't really a lot of range at all. With the expansion of feminism and the feminist movement that we're seeing over the last few years, I think we're seeing more and more women really reject the idea of submitting to anyone, and they're taking special offense to being expected to submit to a man, whether that is in marriage or not. And so I'm all about girl power. Y'all know that. I'm all about girl power. I believe in the necessity of women, specifically Black women, to have a voice in any relationship that they participate in. However, I also understand how submission plays a role in healthy romantic relationships. All right. And so, because the term submit has been inappropriately used as a tool for control and really just like for evil by some of the members of the Christian church for so long, we don't really have the information that we need to be okay with being submissive to our spouses. And it's actually having we actually have created or developed this aversion to the idea of submission in general. All right. So today I'm talking about what it really means to submit in a healthy relationship. Now, this is not going to be a Bible study, but I am going to be referencing some Bible verses, which I feel like is to be expected because the whole idea of submission really originated from the church anyway. And so there was no scenario in which I could discuss submission in romantic relationships without reading a Bible verse. You know what I'm saying? Not that I really wanted to, because as y'all know, I love the Lord. You know what I'm saying? No judgment for you, or whatever you believe in, but I do believe in God. I do believe in, God and Jesus and all of them. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't want to turn anybody off. Yes, we will be discussing Bible verses, but this is not Bible study. Okay, let's be clear about that. All right. Also, you're gonna hear me use the term relationship way more than you're gonna hear me say marriage as I really like dig in and go through this topic. And that's because the practice of submission has to begin long before the marriage actually takes place. Okay. Well, that's one of the reasons why. Because you don't just, wake up one day submissive. You know what I'm saying? It is a process, it is a journey. And if you are considering marrying someone, then you need to already be in the mindset of being able to be submissive. In fact, I would say that you should not even consider marrying somebody if you cannot fathom yourself being submissive to them, not in the mainstream understanding of what it means to be submissive, but as I'm going to explain it to us today. Okay. So if you cannot see yourself submitting to this person, if you do not see yourself following the lead of this person, then that might not be somebody that you would want to be married to. All right. So you might want to second guess that. Another reason why I'm going to use the term, relationship more so than marriage today is because not everybody that, like, you don't have to be married to someone to be committed to building a long lasting relationship with them. All right. I know people who have been in 20-year relationships and never got married. I mean, come on, let's, look at Oprah and Stedman. There's absolutely some submission that's taken place in that relationship for it to have lasted as long as it did. Some of us are in relationships and cannot get married for whatever reason. Maybe we don't have the finances to get married, or maybe the government is telling us that we can't. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of reasons why people are not married, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to exist in a healthy relationship all the same. All right. And so I am very much aware that the origins of the idea of submission come from the church and that it was intended specifically for marriage between a husband and a wife. But the reality is that the world has evolved significantly since then, and we need to get over it and we need to get on board. And everybody deserves to be in a healthy relationship. And at the end of the day, submission is a part of any healthy romantic relationship. Point blank, period. That's just what it is. Okay. So I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. If you want that relationship to be a healthy relationship, then keep listening because I'm going to give you some information on how to make that happen. All right. Okay. So let's get started. Um, of course, I think the logical place to start this conversation is around the biblical understanding of submission. So I want to start off by reading the most widely quoted Bible verse. Now, the Bible talks about submission multiple times, right? But there's one Bible verse in particular that is used over and over in the Christian faith, when this topic comes up in this debate, if you will, comes up. And so I want to read a piece of that passage so that we can all be on the same page, okay? And that is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 through 24, all right? And it says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything." Okay? So this verse is often misinterpreted as meaning that basically a man can say and do whatever the fuck he want to do to their spouse, and that you just have to kind of take it because that's what a submissive wife does, because that's what it means to be submissive. However, like, this thought process is not conducive to a healthy relationship at all. Okay. I wanted to, what really got me talking about submission is that my husband and I celebrated our 2-year wedding anniversary on Sunday. So, yay. We celebrated our second wedding anniversary on Sunday. And so, as it was approaching, I wanted my husband to do an episode with me. I wanted him to be a guest on my show, but he was not feeling that at all. He doesn't like being, on the microphone. He actually did a radio interview with me one time. I had an interview when I was in Texas, and he came on the radio. He came just to support me, but he ended up getting on the mic, and he did not like it at all. So this is not really his thing. But it got me to thinking about submitting and what that really means, because I have had to learn how to submit to my husband. And as I shared with my Trust Village ladies last night, like, my husband is the first man in my life, in flesh and blood, that I have been able to submit to. Okay? He is the first man in my life that I have been able to submit to. And that is significant because the submissive kind of chick. You know what I'm saying? And so there's, this idea that in order to be a good wife, you have to just take it. You have to just take whatever is given. I know that that is not true, and I wanted to address that this week. And so anyway, that's how a week of submit was basically developed or created. Okay. And so you know we talked about, I was just saying how that verse is often misinterpreted as basically like a husband can do whatever they want to do, and the wife just has to kind of deal with it and put up with it. And that's not the reality. Submission in a healthy relationship, it's not servitude, right? It doesn't mean that you become a slave to your significant other, that your job is to wait on them hand and foot at all times, and that's all you need to focus on is waiting on them hand and foot. That's poppycock. That's foolish. It's not realistic, especially given the times. Okay? Submission is not servitude. It's also not degrading. All right. When you submit to your spouse, to your significant other in a relationship, that doesn't give them leeway to treat you like shit. That doesn't give them, godly ordained power to degrade you, to treat you as though you are less than. And there's a lot of people out there who are using this passage to excuse that type of behavior. All right. I've seen stories and read stories, and I've actually experienced women who come into my office, all right, when I had my private practice, saying how like they are experiencing domestic violence, domestic abuse within their marriage, within their relationship, and they're told to tough it out. They're told that, they need to be submissive, and they need to be understanding that of what their husband is going through. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Submission does not mean allowing yourself to be controlled, allowing yourself to be degraded, allowing yourself to be abused, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally. That's not what it means to be submissive. Okay? And anybody that's trying to teach you otherwise, girl, you need to run. You need to turn in the opposite direction, and you need to run, because that's not how this works. Not in a healthy relationship. Okay? And excuse me if I'm wrong, but I thought that that's what the goal here was to exist in healthy relationships, right? So submission is not any of those things. It doesn't mean being docile and, quiet as a church mouse, all right? There is nothing about submitting to your husband that requires you to be his yes man or to be his doormat. All right. Submission in a relationship involves being supportive of your spouse as they assume the role of guiding you and your family. That is what it means to be submissive. That support can come in many different forms. Sometimes it's celebrating their wins, and sometimes it's pushing them to be a better version of themselves. Sometimes it means checking them when they are completely out of damn line. And sometimes it means processing your anger on your own until you can get to a place where you can discuss the actual issues that like created that anger in you to begin with, instead of just getting lost in the emotion. It's about exercising restraint over your emotions and your desires and having empathy for your spouse, even when sometimes they don't deserve it. Because we all find ourselves in a place where we need empathy, but we don't deserve it. I know I have. I know I have. Okay? All right? Submitting to your husband is not about being weak and allowing yourself to be controlled or taken advantage of. It's about being a good team player. Now, that being said, it's much easier to be a team player when your teammates are equally committed to winning the game. All right. So, the conversation, one of the issues that I have, especially just in general, but it was solidified when I was doing my research for today's episode. But the conversation around marital submission in the Christian community, it seems to be very one sided. All right. But the scripture goes on to say, I'm going again back to Ephesians chapter 5, but this time we're going to read verse 25 through 30. It says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it, just as Christ does the church, for we are members of his body." All right. These verses, these last five verses, they tend to get lost in the interpretation of the idea of submission. Conveniently, I'm sure. Okay. There is a give and take that must exist in a relationship in order for submission to be possible. And at the base of that give and take is love. Real love, not lust, not the lust that you think is love, the lust that appears to be love because you don't know what real love is or because you've never experienced real love. Okay? But real, true, genuine love. It cannot be one person submitting to the other and the other person dominating. That's a single-sided love. Husbands must also learn to be submissive to their wives in order to create a stable household. Okay? And they do that by displaying love on multiple levels. All right? As we all know, men tend to express love in a different way than women. And I know that that's a blanket statement, but they do tend, in general, they tend to be a little more hands on in terms of doing things that express love. right? So yes, we definitely need to be aware of each other's love languages. I'm a very big proponent of love languages, and we have to try our best to display love in a way that our partner can receive it. But on the flip side of that, we also must be able to respect the love that's being shown as is. So, yes, I need to come around to being able to provide you with love in a way that you understand love, but you also need to come around to being able to accept love in the way that I give love. It's a give and take, okay? It's a give and take. And a healthy relationship is not hinged upon the wife being submissive. Everybody has to play their part. If you want somebody to submit to you, then you must present yourself as worthy of submission. I remember, so I used to have a radio show. It was called All Inclusive. Oh my goodness, All Inclusive. So I did this radio show back in New Orleans a couple years ago. I don't know how long has it been. It's been about four. Oh my God. I feel like it's been about 3 or 4 years now. It was before I even met my husband. So that's at least 3 years, 3.5 years. So anyway, I had a radio show for a very, very brief period of time. And it was at WBOK in New Orleans. Shout out to WBOK. Shout out to Don P. What's going on or whatever. Anyway, so I remember one night we were in the studio. I recorded the episode or whatever. And afterward, I stuck around to guest host on the show that came up after me. And so I remember that we were doing an interview with this theater company that was in the area, and they were doing a play about finding your Boaz. Okay. And so, for those of you who don't know, Boaz is supposed to is a he's a character from the Bible. I don't know the whole like intricacies of the story, but I know that Boaz is utilized as the picture of the perfect man, right? So, when you think about the kind of man that you want to have, the kind of man that you want to marry, most women will say, I'm finding my Boaz. I'm looking for, waiting for my Boaz, right? And so Boaz is the picture of, the ideal husband. And so we were talking before the interview started, and the guy who wrote, the writer of the play, was talking to me. And at this time, girl, I hadn't even met my husband. I was not in a good place in terms of relationships. I was not in a relationship, but I had a few on my team or whatever. I believes in keeping a team, when you're single, when you are single, okay? But anyway, so he was asking me, why are you not in a relationship? Which, side note, stop asking women that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I like, why is that even a question that you're asking me? Okay. So anyway, he asked me, why are you not in a relationship? And I said, I ask myself that question every single day, because I really wanted to be in a relationship, but the relationships that I currently had, they just, it wasn't them was not the right relationships for me. They served a specific purpose. And so he asked me, why do you think you haven't found like your person? Or no, that's not what he asked me. He asked me, what kind of man am I looking for? And I told him, I'm looking for a man that is strong enough to allow me to be strong and he still be able to guide me. I'm looking for a man that is strong enough to lead me and not have to dampen me in order to do it. Okay? That's the kind of man that I needed, because I am a large personality. I am a lot of personality. I am a Leo, I am a lioness. You know what I'm saying? And so and at that point, I mean, I had been on my own for so long and taking care of my own bills and working a good job. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm like a lot of us are, like a lot of black women are even now. Right. So you can't just come up in my life talking no bullshit, talking about I need to submit to you, and you're not prepared to take on that responsibility, right? And so, in order for, me to be able to submit to someone, he had to first present himself as someone worthy of submission. Okay. And so I want to talk really quickly about someone who is worthy of submission. How do you know, or what are the three traits, the things that you need to look for in a person that you are thinking about submitting to? Okay. There's three traits. Like I said, I talked about this on Monday in Trust Village for the Empower Your Vision Masterclass weekly live Q&A. And so I'm just really going to touch on it, not Monday, Tuesday for live stream Tuesday in Trust Village. So I'm just going to touch on it very, very briefly. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I want you to know that these are the three traits that you need to see in someone that you are potentially thinking about submitting to. And if they don't have, at the very least, these three traits, because there's a lot more that you need them to have, but if they don't have, at the very least, these three traits, then you need to consider whether or not this is really somebody worthy of your submission. Okay. The first trait is that they need to be able to show empathy. Okay. They need to be able to show empathy. And empathy, really quickly, is the ability to walk in somebody else's shoes. It's to understand somebody else's journey, to put yourself in their position. It doesn't mean that you condone their actions, their behaviors, or their experiences. It just means like I can respect that this is where you've come from, that this is what you believe, that this is your thought process, that this is what caused you or what motivated your behavior. Empathy. Okay? Empathy. If the person that you're in a relationship with cannot show you empathy, then maybe you don't need to be in a relationship with them. And for damn sure, you don't need to be submitting to them. Because submitting yourself to someone, there's a realm of vulnerability associated with that. And so when you make yourself vulnerable, you make yourself open to them. Not weakened, but open to them. And if they cannot have empathy for your openness, it's not going to work. It opens yourself up to hurt and heartache. So be careful. Look for empathy in the people that you are considering submitting to. All right. The second thing is knowledge. Okay. Knowledge and understanding. They need to be sufficient in an area that you are deficient. Okay. You cannot submit to somebody that don't have nothing to give you, that cannot grow you in any way. Now that don't mean that they gotta have a PhD and they gotta make six figures, you know what I'm saying? Or however you say it. Like that doesn't mean that they need to be the superficial version of whatever it means to be on top. It just means that they need to have something to offer you. My husband is younger than me. I've had more life experience than him in terms of career and college and just things of that nature, but he teaches me every single day. I learn from my husband every single day. Okay? Because in the areas that I am deficient, he is sufficient. And so I can submit to him because he can teach me things. And I teach him. It's a give and take. It's a back and forth. We both teach each other. But if the person that you are considering submitting to or the person that you're in a relationship with can't teach you nothing, whether that's spiritual teaching, financial teaching, household teaching, how to pay bills, whatever it is, teach you a damn joke, girl, whatever. If they cannot teach you, if they do not have a knowledge base that can actually grow you, then you might want to second guess that. Okay. And then the third thing, or the third thing that I'm going to talk about today is a willingness to lead. All right. And I think this is where a lot of us get mixed up because we're trying to force people to guide us. We trying to force people to be the head of the household. We trying to force people to allow us to be able to submit to them. But if they don't want the job, then they don't damn want the job. And you need to accept that. There has to be a willingness to lead. They got to want the job. And if they are showing you in their actions, not taking your calls, sending you to voicemail, leaving your text on red for 3 and 4 days at a time, not showing up when they say they're going to show up. If they are showing you and if they are telling you, because some of us, girl, some of y'all, listen, they be telling you they don't want the job. I'm not really looking for a serious relationship right now. Well, girl, I know he said that, but no, girl, he said that. He said that, right? If he is showing you and telling you that he does not want that position, move on. Okay? You cannot submit to somebody who does not want your submission, who has no desire to lead you. All right? They got to be there because that's what they want to do, not because you need them to do it. Okay? All right? You cannot force someone to lead you. All right? So that's all I have for y'all today in terms of submitting and understanding submission in a relationship. Like I said, I know I use the term husband and wife a lot, but I also use the term relationships. I want y'all to really know and understand that this applies to all romantic relationships. I don't care what it looked like. Okay. And we need to, I think I would like to see us overcome the negative stereotype associated with submission because it is a necessary part of a healthy relationship. Point blank period. Because when you refuse to submit, then resentment begins to grow in a relationship. The whole point of committing your life to somebody is to have somebody to spend your life with, to grow with, to learn with, to fail with, to not have to do this by yourself. And you have to submit to the reality of that. Let it happen. Okay, so I hope that this information helped you out. I'm sorry about that. I hope that this information helped you out and that, maybe you'll give submission another chance and really shift your thought process on what it means to submit. All right. As usual, I would love to hear what y'all have to say about submission. What are your thoughts about submission? I'm going to be making a post this week asking you what your thoughts about submission are. I would love to hear your stories of submission or whatever it is. Now, look, don't go to that BDSM lane. We ain't talking about that kind of submission, to each his own. This is a judgment free zone. But make sure y'all check me out. Like check it out on my Instagram page. Talk to me. I'm definitely gonna be making more of an effort to talk back to y'all. All right. Okay. Coming up next is high five. So, my high five for today goes out to Nike. As you all know, Nike announced this week that they have signed Colin Kaepernick to be the face of their 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. So it's the 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign, I believe. And Colin Kaepernick is the man. And so I want to say high five to Nike because what they are doing in terms of, I mean, like this is not the first thing that they've done in support of Black athletes, and really, I think, putting out there that they are taking a stand against the foolishness that is America right now, and empowering the Black athletes to have a voice, and to stand on the right side of history with this. And so, I want to say high five to Nike, and I'm kind of actually wrapping the high five and the reality check in together, because my reality check goes to all of like the haters out there, and haters on both sides of the fence. And I'm going to get to that. I want to say high five to Nike for taking a stand, for standing up and supporting something that is not necessarily, um, like looked at by a large segment of the population as something that is honorable. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to make the take a knee movement something that it's not. And we all know that, right? And so for Nike, a huge, huge brand like Nike, Nike is synonymous with the sports industry, not just with football, but with the sports industry in America, period. Nike is a huge, huge part of creating that culture. You know what I'm saying? And so for Nike to take a stand in support of the take a knee movement in this way, and to take such a huge stand, I think that takes a lot of balls. You know what I'm saying? Or I need to come up with another way of saying that, because I feel like women don't have balls, but our balls are bigger than most men's balls. You know what I'm saying? So y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all understand. I feel like y'all really did understand that just now. So, appreciate y'all because y'all get me or whatever. So anyway, so high five to Nike for having the balls to do that. And then I also want to do my reality check to all of the Nike haters. Now, not just obviously the people who, like these stupid ass people who are cutting up, like taking the swoosh off of their Nike gear. Like nobody gives a shit about that. Nike, I'm sure when they went into this, they did all the numbers. Like, let's just be clear, okay? Nike is a business. They are an enterprise. They are a like they are freaking huge. There is no way that Nike makes a move like this without first considering all of the possible fallout. It's just not logical to think that they would go about making such a stand without considering all of the possible fallout. Okay. So that means that they took this into consideration before they decided to move forward, and they moved forward anyway. Okay. So, get your whole life to all of the people who cutting off the swoosh on their Nike shorts. That does nothing. And in actuality, it is wasteful in a lot of ways, because y'all talking about y'all, the take a knee movement or whatever is against the flag and veterans and all of that, which is, it's not even logical, because you're cutting up clothes and they have veterans on the streets under bridges on corners begging for money so that they could buy clothes. So it's wasteful, it's stupid, it's irrelevant, and nobody gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? There's that. But then on the other side of that, I think also I've seen a lot of posts, well, not a lot, but I have one or two people, I hate to call them friends because we're not friends, we just associates. You know what I'm saying? Like I know them or whatever, on my Facebook page, that have been complaining the whole time, talking about, so now Nike get a pass for this, that, and the other, and now why are we so quick to invite people to the table? Let me tell you this. Yes, there is money involved. It is a business. Nike is a business, point blank, period. And they know where their bread is buttered. They know and understand that the bulk of their money comes from Black people. They get it. They understand it. There's no question about it. Nobody ever even, I think, suggested anything otherwise. You know what I'm saying? However, they didn't have to do it. Nobody was expecting Nike to choose Kaepernick as the face of their 30th Just Do It campaign. Nobody put pressure on them to choose Colin Kaepernick for that. There wasn't a boycott going on. There wasn't a petition that was happening to put pressure on Nike for that. I didn't even know it was the 30th anniversary. If we're going to be all the way real, I didn't even know until they announced it. Okay? They did it because they believe in the cause and they wanted to make that clear. All right? And I get so frustrated sometimes with our community, with the black community, because we have this tendency to jump up on our high horse. Like, yes, we say that we want change, but then somebody gives us a glimmer of change and we completely disregard it. We always try to find a reason why it's not valid. You know what I'm saying? They did not have to do that. So get off your high horse, because if they would have chosen somebody else to do it, then the same people that's crying about, oh, so y'all just gonna let anybody into the picnic now, and Nike all about money and this, that, and the other. The same people that's complaining about that, if they would not have chosen Colin Kaepernick, if they would have chosen Ben Roethlisberger, or if they would have chosen Peyton Manning or one of them other white boys that always get chosen for things like this, then those same people would have been complaining about why they always got to choose the white people, why they ain't choose Cap. You see what I'm saying? You cannot win. We need to focus our argument a little bit more. We need to focus on the things that actually matter, because at the end of the day, Nike gonna make Nike money. It does this is not a huge important thing. There's other things in our community that we need to focus our energies on. But coming from a place of why y'all ain't never all the time, that is not conducive to moving the culture forward. So reality check, get over yourself and think about the community as a whole. If you really cared about the community as much as you say you care about the community, then you would be able to recognize when some progress is better than no progress. Now, I'm not saying we should just be good enough with good enough. I'm not saying that at all. We should always be, striving for bigger and better. But like I tell my clients, like I tell my villagers in Trust Village, like I advocate to any and everybody, like I utilize in my own life on an everyday basis. We're going to baby step our way to where it is we're trying to go. Don't discount those or discredit those baby steps because they're not huge. They matter, and they get us a little bit closer to where it is we're trying to be. All right? And that's all I got to say about that. All right. Okay, so that's it. I want to give a shout out to Hayes over at the Awakened Soul podcast. I actually was featured on his most recent episode, so y'all make sure y'all check out the Awakened Soul podcast. I love this guy. I love his show. I feel like our shows are very complementary to each other. So if you like my show, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy his show as well. He has a very unique voice, and I appreciate that voice. And so thank you so much, Hayes, for having me on your show. I really enjoyed sitting down and talking with you. Y'all check out the Awakened Soul podcast. He's also going to be featured. He's one of the podcasts that's going to be doing a live show at this year's A Pod Connection in Atlanta. Okay. So y'all know I'm going to be doing a live show in Atlanta at A Pod Connection. And it's going to be held from October 5th through the 7th. And let's see, you can use my special code Unicorns Talk to get $5 off. The tickets are $25. And so you can use the code Unicorns Talk, all caps, two words, to get $5 off your ticket price. And you can actually register when you purchase your ticket. You can register for the meet and greet on Friday, October 5th. So I could see you and hug your face so you could get some merch and things like that. I can't wait to see y'all. Okay. And that's again a Pod Connection, ATL. Check them out. The link to get your ticket and to get more information is going to be in the show description for today. Also, as you all know, I have partnered with Talkspace online therapy platform as a provider for the state of Louisiana. And I'm actually working on partnering with another online counseling, because I know some people have reservations about online counseling, but it is awesome and amazing. Anytime you get an opportunity to talk to a licensed therapist, I strongly recommend it. Okay. And so now you can reach out to your therapist any day of the time, any time of the day or night. inside of a secure online therapy room, and get the help that you need. Everybody could use somebody to talk to every now and then. And let's just be real, we do everything else online. Why not do therapy online as well? It's convenient, it's effective. My client list is growing every single day. I actually just got a new client right before I started recording today. So, check out Talkspace Therapy for How You Live. If you live in the state of Louisiana, you can request me by name and they will get you directly to me. But even if you don't live in the state of Louisiana, check it out, because they have good therapists and you can select the exact type of therapist you want. If you're looking for a black therapist, you can request a black therapist. If you're looking for a therapist that specializes in LGBT community and issues, then you can specifically request that. If you want a therapist that works with addictions, you can request that. Like, you can get the exact therapist that you are looking for, without having to sift through a whole bunch of bullshit. So give it a try, y'all. Try out Talkspace or whatever. Okay. What else? Make sure you follow me on all of the social medias, at Unicorns Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also listen on the web and find out everywhere that the show is available by going to my website, latricesampsonrichards.com. Or you can follow me directly on Facebook and Instagram at Latrice Sampson Richards and on Twitter at L. Sam Richards. Of course, make sure you join Trust Village, because what you waiting on, and you can register for my free Empower Your Vision Masterclass. Make that happen as well. That's all I got for y'all today. Don't forget to let me know what y'all think about the sound. I feel pretty good about it. I really do. Okay. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.